They're doing it again. After everything we've been through, after years of Super Cena booking that nearly destroyed this company's credibility, WWE is actually considering handing John Cena an unprecedented 18th World Championship before he retires. And you know what the worst part is? They might actually be right to do it. Stay with me here, because what I'm about to tell you is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about John Cena's legacy. What's up, Wrestle Scope Nation? Welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the stories WWE doesn't want you to think too hard about. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell because we're about to dissect one of the most controversial decisions in WWE history that's currently being discussed behind closed doors. Today, we're talking about the elephant in the room that's got the entire wrestling community divided right down the middle. John Cena's retirement tour is coming. It's been announced, it's official, and according to multiple reports from backstage sources, WWE Creative has been in heated discussions about whether to give the Sin Nation leader one final world title reign before he hangs up his boots for good. Now, before you rage quit this video and head straight to the comments to tell me I'm insane, I need you to hear me out completely, because this story, it's way more complicated than you think. Let's get the facts straight first. John Cena announced his retirement tour for 2025, and it sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. The man who's been the face of WWE for 2 decades is finally calling it quits. 36 farewell dates, one final run, the end of an era. But here's where it gets interesting, and frankly, infuriating for a lot of you watching this right now. According to reports from Wrestling Observer, PW Insider, and several other credible sources close to WWE Creative, there have been legitimate, serious discussions about putting the World Heavyweight Championship or even the WWE Championship on John Cena one more time. An 18th reign, breaking his own record, cementing a legacy that's already cemented. And immediately, I know what you're thinking. I can feel the anger radiating through the screen right now. Here we go again, Super Cena, burying the younger talent, taking opportunities away from guys who actually need it. WWE never learns. Trust me, I get it. I've been covering this business for years, and I've heard every single argument against Cena getting pushed over younger talent. I've heard it all. I've said it all. Remember WrestleMania 27? Remember the Royal Rumble victories? Remember him beating Bray Wyatt and killing his momentum dead? Remember the Nexus burial? I remember. We all remember. But here's the thing that's making this situation absolutely fascinating from a business and storytelling perspective. For the first time in maybe John Cena's entire career, there might actually be a perfect story to justify this 18th title reign. And it's not the story you think it is. See, WWE isn't just randomly deciding to throw the belt on a part-timer for no reason. They're not just being nostalgic. They're looking at this from multiple angles, and some of those angles actually make a disturbing amount of sense when you really break them down. First, let's talk numbers. John Cena's last proper world title reign ended in 2017. That's 8 years ago now. 8 years of Cena being a part-time player, a Hollywood star, a special attraction. And in those 8 years, something interesting happened. The hatred softened. The resentment faded. The Cena sucks chants turned into thank you Cena chants. Why? Because absence makes the heart grow fonder, but also because a new generation of wrestlers came in and showed us what real booking problems look like. Roman Reigns' 4-year title reign, Theory getting pushed to the moon before he was ready, Logan Paul getting WrestleMania matches. Suddenly, John Cena's decade of dominance doesn't look quite so bad anymore, does it? Now, let's address the massive elephant in the room that WWE has been dancing around for over a decade. Ric Flair's record. 16 world championships, the Nature Boy, the measuring stick for greatness in professional wrestling. For years, that number was considered untouchable. It was the record, the ultimate achievement, the pinnacle of the pinnacle. And then John Cena tied it at the 2017 Royal Rumble, 16 world championships, equal to the Nature Boy. The torch passed, right? The perfect ending to a legendary career. Cena could retire knowing he stood alongside the greatest of all time. But here's where WWE's corporate mindset kicks in, and this is where some of you are going to hate what I'm about to say. From a pure business perspective, why would WWE want their record to be tied with a wrestler who now works for their competition? Ric Flair, as legendary as he is, has appeared for AEW. He's appeared for independent promotions. He's a free agent. He'll show up wherever the money is good and the spotlight is bright. That's not a criticism of Flair, that's just reality. WWE, as a corporation, as a publicly traded company under the TKO umbrella, wants their records to be held by their people. They want the history books to be written in WWE Inc. They want the greatest of all time to be exclusively associated with their brand. And that's where the 18th championship comes in. If Cena wins an 18th world title, he doesn't just break the record, he owns it. Completely, undeniably, exclusively. There's no tie, there's no debate, there's no, well, actually, if you count this reign or that reign. John Cena becomes the record holder, and that record belongs to WWE and WWE alone. Now, is this petty? Maybe. Is it corporate politics trumping pure sports entertainment? Absolutely. But is it smart business? That's what we need to really examine here. Because here's the counter-argument that's going to make half of you scream at your screens right now. What if WWE's right? What if John Cena should hold that record? Stay with me here. I know. But think about it logically for a second. Ric Flair's 16 championships happened across multiple promotions. WCW, NWF, WWE, different eras, different competition levels, different contexts. Some of those reigns lasted days, some lasted months. The lineage is complicated and frankly kinda messy when you really dig into the details. John Cena's 16 championships all happened in the same company, in the modern era, during the most competitive period of professional wrestling in history. He held those titles while competing against Batista, Edge, Randy Orton, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, and countless other legitimate main event talents. He held those titles while WWE was being pushed by TNA, by New Japan, by the Independent Revolution, and eventually by AEW. So purely from a competitive standpoint, doesn't Cena's 16 actually mean more than Flair's 16? And if we're being honest, doesn't an 18th championship make Cena's legacy bulletproof in a way that being tied with Flair never could? But let's move past the corporate politics and the record books for a minute. Because if WWE actually pulls the trigger on this, the way they do it matters more than anything else. And this is where things get really interesting. There are several scenarios being discussed internally, and each one has the potential to be either absolutely brilliant or catastrophically terrible. There's no middle ground here. Scenario 1, the Farewell Championship. This is the safest route, and honestly the most predictable. Cena wins the title on his retirement tour, holds it for a month or two, and then loses it in his final match to a young star, passing the torch in the ultimate feel-good moment. On paper, it sounds perfect, right? Cena gets his record-breaking moment, the fans get their nostalgia hit, and some young wrestler gets the rub of a lifetime by retiring John Cena as champion. But here's why this scenario terrifies me. Who's the young star? Because if WWE screws this up, if they pick the wrong person, they don't just waste John Cena's retirement, they potentially damage that young star's career forever. Imagine if Cena puts over someone like Austin Theory in his retirement match. Theory gets nuclear heat, not the good kind, the go-away heat, the you just retired our hero heat. His career is potentially destroyed before it really begins because the fans resent him for taking away their childhood. Or imagine if they play it too safe and have someone like Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins beat him. Two guys who are already established main eventers, who don't need the rub, who won't be elevated by the moment because they're already at the top of the card. The person who retires John Cena needs to be someone the fans can accept in that role. Someone who's good enough that it feels earned, but young enough that it changes their career trajectory. That's an incredibly narrow target to hit. Scenario 2, the Shock and Awe Championship. This is the controversial one, and it's the one that apparently has some serious support within WWE Creative. What if John Cena doesn't win the title on his farewell tour? What if he wins it before the tour even starts? What if, at a random pay-per-view, Cena shows up, wins the Royal Rumble or Money in the Bank, cashes in, and suddenly we're in an 18th title reign before anyone sees it coming? The benefits of this approach are massive from a storytelling perspective. First, it's unexpected. In an era where everything leaks online, where every finish is predicted weeks in advance, a genuine surprise Cena title win would break the internet. The social media engagement alone would be worth millions in publicity. Second, it allows Cena to defend the title throughout his farewell tour. Instead of just showing up for nostalgia segments, he's actually competing for something meaningful every single night.
every match has real stakes. Every city gets to see John Cena as champion one more time, not just as a retired legend showing up for a paycheck. Third, and this is the big one, it sets up the ultimate retirement storyline. Cena starts his farewell tour as champion. He says he's going to defend it in every city, against every challenger, until his final match. And then, slowly but surely, the losses start adding up. The wear and tear shows, the young stars start circling, and the story becomes, can John Cena hold on to the title until his retirement match, or will Father Time catch up to him first? That's compelling television. That's must-see TV. That's the kind of storyline that makes people tune in every single week because they genuinely don't know what's going to happen.
But here's the problem, and it's a big problem. If Cena wins the title and holds it for his entire farewell tour, that's potentially 6 months to a year of the main event scene being dominated by a part-timer. That's 6 months to a year of Gunther or Braun Breaker or whoever the next big thing is being kept out of the world title picture. That's 6 months to a year of the current full-time roster being told they're not as important as a guy who's already leaving. And that right there is why this decision is so controversial within WWE itself. Scenario 3. The heel turn nobody expects. Okay, this one's a long shot, but apparently it's been brought up in creative meetings, and honestly, it's kind of genius in a twisted way. What if John Cena turns heel to win the 18th championship? Think about it. Cena's entire career has been defined by being the hero, the good guy, the role model, the guy who never gives up. Even when the fans hated him, even when they booed him out of every arena, he stayed face. He stayed true to his character. But what if, in his final year, Cena looks around and realizes that being the good guy his whole career left him tied with Ric Flair instead of standing alone? What if he decides that being remembered as the greatest of all time is more important than being remembered as a good guy? What if John Cena sells out in his final year to secure his legacy? The storytelling potential here is insane. Cena cheats to win the title. He uses heel tactics. He becomes everything he claimed to stand against. And the fans, who spent years begging for a Cena heel turn, finally get it, but not in the way they wanted. Not when he had years left to run with it, but as a desperate final act of a legend who's running out of time. And then, in his retirement match, Cena loses the title and realizes what he's lost isn't the championship. It's his integrity. It's his legacy as a hero. And that becomes his final redemption arc. I'll be honest, I don't think WWE has the guts to actually do this. It's too risky, too unpredictable, too likely to backfire spectacularly. But man, if they did, if they actually had the courage to turn John Cena heel in his final year, that would be talked about for decades. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody in WWE's corporate offices wants to acknowledge. The fan backlash to this idea has been severe. Go on Twitter, or X, or whatever we're calling it this week. Go on Reddit. Go on any wrestling forum. The response to the mere suggestion of Cena getting an 18th title has been overwhelmingly negative. And not just from the usual Cena haters. We're talking about hardcore wrestling fans who generally respect Cena's work, casual fans who enjoy his appearances, even some Cena fans who think this is a bad idea. Why? What's driving this level of negative reaction? I think it comes down to a fundamental disconnect between what WWE thinks the fans want and what the fans actually want. WWE sees John Cena as their greatest homegrown star of the modern era. They see him as a mainstream celebrity who brings publicity and legitimacy to their product. They see him as a proven draw who can sell tickets and move merchandise even in a part-time role. All of that is true. None of that is wrong. But what WWE doesn't seem to understand, or maybe doesn't want to understand, is that the fans have moved on. We've moved on to Seth Rollins. We've moved on to Cody Rhodes. We've moved on to Gunther. We've moved on to a new generation of stars who are there every single week, putting in the work, earning their spots, and building the future of the company. And when WWE even suggests taking the World Championship, the most prestigious prize in the entire industry, and putting it on a part-timer for nostalgia purposes, it feels like a slap in the face to every single full-time wrestler on that roster. It feels like WWE is saying, we don't trust our current stars to carry the main event scene.
We need to bring back the old guard one more time. And maybe that's not what WWE intends. Maybe they genuinely believe they can do this in a way that benefits everyone. But perception is reality in this business. And right now, the perception is that WWE is about to make the same mistakes they've been making for 20 years. Here's the thing though, and this is where I'm going to make some of you even angrier. WWE might not care about the backlash. I don't say that to be provocative. I say it because we have years of evidence showing that WWE makes decisions based on their own internal metrics, not on social media reactions. When Roman Reigns was getting booed out of every building for years, WWE kept him as the top babyface anyway. Why? Because he was selling merchandise, because he was drawing viewers, because he was moving needles that mattered to the business, even if the live crowd hated him. When Goldberg came back and beat Kevin Owens for the Universal Championship in 2017, the internet lost its mind. Fans were furious that a part-timer took the title off a full-time workhorse. But you know what? That title reign led to Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 33, which did massive business and brought mainstream attention to the product. So, if WWE looks at the numbers, if they look at the mainstream press, if they look at the potential for one more huge John Cena moment, they might decide that the backlash from hardcore fans is worth it. And honestly, they might be right, as much as I hate to admit it. Because here's the uncomfortable truth that we as hardcore wrestling fans need to accept. We are not the target audience for a John Cena retirement angle. We're going to watch anyway. We're going to complain on social media, we're going to make our YouTube videos criticizing the decision, and then we're going to tune in on Monday Night Raw to see how it plays out. The target audience for John Cena's retirement is the casual fan, the lapsed fan, the person who used to watch wrestling but stopped, the parent who grew up watching Cena and wants to show their kids what a legend looks like, the mainstream media outlets who will cover it as a major pop culture event. And for that audience, John Cena winning an 18th World Championship isn't a burial of young talent. It's a feel-good story about a legend getting one final moment in the spotlight. It's appointment television. It's a reason to come back to wrestling for a few months before they disappear again. Is that frustrating for us as hardcore fans who watch every week? Absolutely. Is it good business? Probably. Let's take a step back and look at how other wrestling companies have handled retirement tours for their biggest stars. Because there's a lot we can learn from history here. Ric Flair retired from WWE in 2008 at WrestleMania 24, losing to Shawn Michaels in what was supposed to be his final match. Flair wasn't champion during his retirement run. He didn't need to be. The story was about career versus streak, and it was perfect. It's still considered one of the greatest retirement matches of all time. But then Flair went to 10 and kept wrestling, and then he showed back up in WWE. And then he had matches in independent promotions. And the perfect retirement was ruined because the business couldn't let go of the legend. Shawn Michaels retired at WrestleMania 26, losing to The Undertaker in another career versus streak match. Again, no championship needed. The story was bigger than any belt. And for years, Michaels stayed retired. His legacy remained intact. It was the perfect ending to a perfect career. But then Michaels came back for Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. And then he started taking bumps on television again. And suddenly, that perfect retirement doesn't feel quite so permanent anymore. The Undertaker's retirement was stretched over several years, with multiple final matches before he actually hung it up for good. No championship needed. The Undertaker was bigger than any title. But the prolonged goodbye, the false retirements, the uncertainty of whether each match was really the last one, it took away some of the emotional impact. Stone Cold Steve Austin's retirement in 2003 happened without fanfare, without a big announcement, without a farewell tour. He just stopped showing up because his neck couldn't take it anymore. And for 19 years, that was it. Until WrestleMania 38, when he came back for one more match against Kevin Owens. And it was magical because nobody saw it coming. So looking at these examples, what's the right way to do John Cena's retirement? The honest answer is, there isn't a perfect template. Every retirement is different because every career is different. But here's what we can take away from these examples. The retirements that worked best weren't about championships or records. They were about storytelling. They were about emotional resonance. They were about giving the fans closure. Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels worked because it was about respecting Flair's legacy enough to let him go out on his back, doing what he loved, in front of the biggest audience possible. Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker worked because it was about Michaels' pride, his ego, his refusal to accept that he couldn't beat the streak, leading to the ultimate sacrifice of his career. Even Stone Cold's return at WrestleMania 38 worked because it was a surprise, because it was framed as one night only, because it was fun instead of desperate. The retirements that didn't work as well were the ones that felt mercenary, the ones that felt like cash grabs, the ones that felt like the legend couldn't let go, or the company couldn't move on. So where does John Cena's 18th championship fit into this? Is it a meaningful part of his story? Or is it WWE trying to squeeze one more record out of a legend before he leaves? And that's what WWE Creative is apparently grappling with right now. Because they know that if they get this wrong, they don't just mess up one story, they potentially tarnish the legacy of the biggest star of the modern era. Here's what nobody in WWE seems to be asking. Does John Cena need an 18th championship for his retirement to be meaningful? The obvious answer is no. John Cena's legacy is secure. He's a 16-time world champion. He's a mainstream movie star. He's a cultural icon who transcended professional wrestling. He's the Make-A-Wish record holder. He's carried WWE through its most difficult period. He's mentored an entire generation of wrestlers. He's done it all. So why do we need the 18th reign? WWE's answer would probably be because it's historic, because it breaks the record, because it gives Cena something to chase in his final year, because it creates buzz and media attention. But what if there's a better story? What if John Cena's retirement tour is about him trying and failing to win the 18th championship?
Think about the narrative weight of that story. Cena announces his retirement and declares his intention to break Ric Flair's record before he hangs up his boots. Every match on his farewell tour has stakes now. Can he do it? Will he get one more shot at glory? And then, match after match, city after city, Cena comes up short. He gets close. Maybe he wins a #1 contenders match. Maybe he gets a championship opportunity at a Big Four pay-per-view. But every time, he can't quite get it done. Why? Because time has caught up with him. Because the new generation is too good. Because the business has evolved past him. Because even John Cena, the man who never gives up, has to eventually accept that some things aren't meant to be. And then, in his final match, Cena isn't wrestling for the championship. He's wrestling to prove he can still go. He's wrestling to show respect to his opponent. He's wrestling because he loves this business and he wants to go out the way he came in, fighting. He loses that final match, but it's okay, because his legacy isn't about one more championship. It's about everything he accomplished. It's about the lives he changed. It's about the impact he made. It's about being the greatest of his generation, record or no record. That's a powerful story. That's a story about accepting mortality, about knowing when to step aside, about legacy being more than statistics. And honestly, I think that's the story that would resonate most with the fans who grew up watching John Cena. Because we're all getting older too. We all understand that time is undefeated. We all eventually have to accept that we can't do the things we once could. John Cena chasing the 18th championship and falling short isn't a failure. It's beautifully human. It's relatable. It's real. But here's why WWE probably won't do that story. Because it requires accepting that John Cena isn't invincible. It requires admitting that the past can't compete with the present. It requires letting go of nostalgia in favor of reality. And WWE, as a company, has never been great at letting go. Let's talk about the thing that WWE will never publicly admit drives these decisions: money. John Cena is a proven draw. That's not an opinion, that's a fact backed up by decades of data. When Cena's name is on the marquee, ticket sales increase, merchandise moves, casual fans tune in, the numbers don't lie. So from WWE's perspective, if they're going to do a year-long retirement tour with John Cena, they want to maximize the revenue from that tour. And the easiest way to do that is to put a championship on him. Championships main event shows. Championships create drama and stakes. Championships give casual fans a reason to care about individual matches, beyond John Cena's here for a nostalgia pop. If Cena is defending the World Championship in Des Moines on a random Tuesday night, that's a legitimate main event that justifies higher ticket prices and more media coverage. If Cena is just showing up for a segment or a mid-card match, that's still a draw, but it's not quite the same.
WWE is a publicly traded company now, part of the TKO Group Holdings. They have shareholders to answer to. They have quarterly earnings reports. They have financial projections and growth targets. And Cena's retirement tour represents a massive revenue opportunity that they can't afford to waste. Putting the championship on Cena isn't just a creative decision, it's a business decision. And in modern WWE, business decisions often override creative ones. Is that cynical? Yes. Is it wrong? That's debatable. Because at the end of the day, WWE is a business, and businesses exist to make money. If putting the title on Cena for his retirement tour increases profitability without causing long-term damage to the product, then from a business standpoint, it's the right call. The question is, does it cause long-term damage? And that's where opinions diverge wildly. Some people argue that short-term nostalgia pops always come at the expense of long-term storytelling. Others argue that you can do both if you're smart about it. Personally, I think the answer depends entirely on execution, which brings us to... So, after everything we've discussed, after looking at all the angles, examining all the scenarios, considering the business and creative implications, here's my take on whether WWE should put an 18th World Championship on John Cena before he retires. It's complicated. I know. You wanted a definitive yes or no. You wanted me to either defend the decision or tear it apart. But the reality is more nuanced than that. If WWE does this right, if they tell a compelling story, if they use the championship to elevate someone by having them beat Cena in a meaningful way, if they don't let it drag on too long, then yes, an 18th championship could be the perfect capstone to Cena's career. But that's a lot of ifs.
WWE's track record with part-time champions is mixed at best. Goldberg's Universal Championship run was brief but effective. Brock Lesnar's various title reigns were sometimes brilliant and sometimes frustrating, depending on who he was working with and how often he defended. The Rock's 2013 WWE Championship run is probably the most relevant comparison. He won the title at the Royal Rumble, held it for about 2 months, and dropped it to John Cena at WrestleMania 29. It was fine. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't amazing, it was just fine. And maybe that's what we should expect from a Cena retirement championship run. Something that's fine. Something that doesn't ruin anyone's career, but doesn't elevate anyone to new heights either. Something that makes business sense without being particularly memorable creatively. But here's the thing. Fine isn't good enough for John Cena's retirement. This is a man who's given everything to this business for over 20 years. His retirement deserves to be more than fine. It deserves to be special. It deserves to be memorable. It deserves to mean something. And I'm not sure an 18th World Championship does that. What would make Cena's retirement special isn't another title reign. It's the emotional connection he has with the fans who grew up watching him. It's the respect he commands from the locker room. It's the impact he's made on the industry and on popular culture. The 18th championship feels like WWE trying to create meaning through statistics instead of storytelling. It feels like they're more concerned with record books than with emotional resonance. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe WWE has a brilliant plan that will make all of this make sense. Maybe they've figured out the perfect way to give Cena his record-breaking reign while simultaneously elevating the next generation. Or maybe they're just going to do what WWE always does. Make the decision that makes the most sense in the short term, regardless of long-term consequences, and hope it all works out in the end. Here's what I do know. The wrestling world will be watching. Every decision WWE makes regarding Cena's retirement will be scrutinized, analyzed, and debated endlessly. There's no flying under the radar on this one. If they give Cena the 18th championship and it's amazing, they'll be praised for giving a legend the send-off he deserves. If they give him the championship and it's terrible, they'll be crucified for prioritizing nostalgia over the current roster. And if they don't give him the championship at all, some fans will be relieved, while others will feel like his retirement is missing something significant. There's no safe choice here. Every option has risks and rewards. What I hope, more than anything, is that WWE makes their decision based on what's best for the story, not just what's best for the bottom line. I hope they remember that John Cena's greatest moments were never about championships or records.
They were about heart, determination, and connecting with the audience. His debut against Kurt Angle wasn't for a title. His first championship win was memorable because of the journey, not because of the number. His best matches against guys like CM Punk, AJ Styles, and Kevin Owens were about proving he could still go, not about adding to his reign count. So, if WWE does pull the trigger on this 18th championship, I hope they do it for the right reasons. I hope they do it because they have a story to tell, not just a record to break. I hope they do it in a way that honors Cena's legacy while building the future. And if they decide not to do it, I hope they craft a retirement story that's just as meaningful without needing the championship to validate it. Because at the end of the day, John Cena doesn't need an 18th world title to cement his legacy. His legacy is already cemented. The question is whether WWE trusts that, or whether they feel the need to add one more accomplishment to the list before he rides off into the sunset. Time will tell, and you can bet that Wrestle Scope will be here to cover every twist and turn of this story as it unfolds. One thing is certain, John Cena's retirement is going to be one of the most significant moments in modern wrestling history. Whether it involves an 18th World Championship or not, it's going to be emotional, it's going to be controversial, and it's going to be talked about for years to come. And honestly, that's exactly how it should be, because John Cena earned that level of attention. He earned the right to have his retirement be a major event. He earned the right to go out on his own terms, whatever those terms may be. We might not all agree on what those terms should be. We might debate endlessly about whether he should win one more title or not. But at the end of the day, John Cena's retirement is going to mark the end of an era that defined professional wrestling for an entire generation. And that's bigger than any championship, even an 18th one. So there you have it, Wrestle Scope Nation. The full story behind WWE's discussions about giving John Cena an unprecedented 18th World Championship before he retires. All the angles, all the perspectives, all the controversy. Now it's your turn. I want to hear from you in the comments section right now. Should WWE give John Cena one more title reign? Would it be the perfect ending to a legendary career, or would it be a mistake that buries younger talent? And if they do it, how should they book it? Who should beat him for the title in his final match? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a real discussion about this. And be respectful to each other. This is a divisive topic, and I know people feel strongly about it, but we can disagree without being disagreeably. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of wrestling's most controversial topics, make sure you smash that like button. It helps the YouTube algorithm push this video to more wrestling fans who need to see this discussion. And if you're not already subscribed to Wrestle Scope, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our analysis of the biggest stories in professional wrestling. We're covering everything from WWE to AEW to NJPW, always with the same level of depth and honesty you got in this video. Share this video with your wrestling friends, post it in your Discord servers, tweet it out, put it